He was. He came out firing about that Solomon Islands had the right to determine who it partnered up with in terms of security. But he also gave time to reassure Australia that, that all the security arrangements that were already in place would stay. So it was a bit of both, I thought. And I think that the most important thing was that he updated the public about what stage that the security agreement was at. And he said that it was finalized, but it was yet to be signed off. So this, I think, was quite important because it gave people a bit of a timeline on what's happening and if there's still room for dialogue. It doesn't look like there is, and it's just a matter of time before this agreement comes into place.
And Evan, that's an interesting point. As you point out, he's ready to ink the deal, but are we any the wiser as to exactly what is in this deal?
No, and that's the key point. We don't know what's in the deal. And is it the same terms as the leaked document we saw online? I think that's a key factor, because in that document that was leaked, we saw that section where it allowed China to bring in military forces to protect infrastructure and assets on the ground. So that's a really key point in the document. But at this stage, it's hard to say what's in the final document.
He did, though, say that there would be no bases operated by China in Solomons. Do we think that's correct?
Yeah, he said that the intention wasn't to establish a military base. He didn't rule out about having military forces in the country. And he said that he pointed out the riots last year where businesses were burnt down and destroyed. And he said that the security arrangements at that time weren't secure enough, and that's why there was a need for this security arrangement with China to come in, to bring in forces and protect assets. He mentioned the Pacific Games facility. So these are the stadiums that have been built, funded by the Chinese government, built by Chinese workers. And he mentioned that these needed protecting in times of distress.
So, Evan, how do you think this plays out from here?
Well, it looks like the deal's almost sealed. Just a matter of just getting that signatures in and having this endorsed. Unfortunately, there's been calls for more dialogue, more discussions. So it's likely that tensions might arise because of the situation we're in. But at the same time, Australia and other countries are also doing their part in training the police and providing extra security. So it'll be up to the government on how they manage the situation in the days to come.
As you said at the start, he was reassuring to some degree to Australia about existing arrangements staying in place. Do you think, though, he was still having a crack at Australia in terms of his very strong comments about sovereignty?
Oh, definitely. He didn't actually come out and name Australia, but he raised points about media reports that called for an invasion of Solomon Islands. That came out from a daily publication we saw over the weekend. So he was certainly, he marked out Australia in that speech, but we also know that behind the scenes there's also been talking going on. So there's a lot of rhetoric, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
And do you get the sense that he's still having a bit of a bet each way, that he wants to court both Australia and China?
I think that's a key part of what he was saying, that the security strategy is about. He mentioned friends to all, enemies to none, and that's a key part of what he sees Solomon Islands' security policy is and how he wants to manage it. But it all comes back to what he was talking about, sovereignty, and Solomon Islands having the right to make that decision to choose which partners it would work with.
Interesting times. Good to talk, Evan. Thanks so much.
Thank you.